Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. So, Emily, how are you today?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, I see that you are from the Pacific Northwest, but you obviously have some connections to France because you recently wrote a book about it called C'est la vie guarantee.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to the start of where you're from and what inspired you to start writing.
Yeah, so I currently live in Vancouver, Washington. It's right across the bridge from Portland, Oregon. Most people are more familiar with Portland. So that's where I'm currently at. And in terms of how I got into writing, I have loved writing for as long as I can remember. And when I was younger, I definitely had these aspirations of becoming an author, but I also wanted to be a ballerina and an astronaut and a figure skater. So,
Lots of options.
Yeah. And as I got older, through school and various jobs, I got to write a little bit, but it was always sort of in this professional space. And I think within that, I kind of lost the craft of writing as a hobby. And 2022, the beginning of 2022, I felt really called to figure out what writing as a hobby looked like again. And it sort of brought up these dormant aspirations of writing a book. And there were a lot of steps in between, but long story short, I got connected with an author that I have been following on social media for many years. I've admired her work from afar for a long time, and basically she had this writing program, sort of like a mentorship writing coach program, where she helped you write and self-publish your book in 3 months. Wow. And so through that, I was able to write my first book, which came out last year, called This Won't Define Me. And that's a nonfiction book. It's like a collection of stories about my personal journey through fear. Mm-hmm. And it was a really wonderful experience. And not that writing a book is easy at all, but it sort of like unlocked this idea in me that like self-publishing is accessible for normal, everyday people. And so that really was like the catalyst to like, not only am I writing again, but like, I want to write another book. So it was so fun to write that book, but my passion is like in the fiction space. And several years ago, I took a trip to Paris with 3 of my best friends, and it was truly like the trip of a lifetime. It was the best trip I have ever been on. And so as I got back into writing, this story started to like stir in me that was loosely inspired by that trip. And so once I sort of realized like, okay, like I can write books, I guess. Like I can keep doing this. This is accessible. I can do this again. And so that's where the C'est la vie guarantee came. And I spent the last couple months like actually writing it, but have worked on it a little bit over the past year. And I'm so excited for it to come out.
It's such a great idea, but talking about France and friendships and I mean, just going back to what you were saying about becoming a writer. I mean, I think so many people feel the same way. They're like, oh, I can't be a writer. It's such a big deal and it's too long. And what's the purpose? And the publishing house is going to take me. And I think it's a lot more accessible now to do self-publishing and before it was kind of like taboo or whatever. But
so many people self-publish now, and talk a little bit about like that process. Did you enjoy learning it? Was it difficult?
Yeah. I enjoyed it a lot. I think, and I have so much respect for the traditional publishing route. But I definitely had that idea that you were talking about that, like, oh my gosh, publishing is so
Oh,
hard. There's no way. I don't even know
wait
where to
one
start. Like,
second. It sounds like the microphone's like kind of blurry all of a sudden. Is it the mic through the computer or are you?
oh, let's
Oops.
see. Okay, I didn't change anything. Is that better?
Yeah, it sounds like it's still kind of blurry. No, what's going on? Is your clothing touching it or?
No, I don't. Nothing's touching it that I can see.
Hmm. Maybe just leave and come back because sometimes it's just the browser too. Let's
Okay.
just come back.
Okay. Yeah, self-publishing was a really great experience. Considering I had like zero outside knowledge before starting the whole process. I found that it was so much more accessible and easier than I thought it was going to be before I started the process. And there are also tons of resources out there when you're self-publishing of people that have done it before, that have tips and tricks, and yeah, so it was a really, really great experience.
Yeah, like you said, I think people feel intimidated, and it sounds like this writing coach really helped too because you wrote a book in 3 months. You said,
Yes, yeah.
"Wow!" And how
It
did
was.
that work? You just had to dedicate 1 hour a day, or how did it happen?
Yeah. So at the time, I was working part time. So in those in between pockets that I wasn't at my day job, and also just a lot of getting up early before I have a 2-year-old son. So getting up before he woke up and doing some writing after he went to bed. Um, I normally am someone that likes to give myself a couple of hours dedicated to like whatever I'm working on. And I really had to shift to like those 15-minute pockets or 10 minutes or however many minutes I had to just sit down
Yeah,
and write, which I also think helped cultivate that craft of writing again, right? Like I don't need 3 hours to sit down and like gather all this inspiration and be creative. It really helped me to find those like pockets of inspiration that's like 15 minutes or 5 minutes to just sit down and write. So
that's
I
really
think,
meaningful because I think like also people think the same as you, where they're like, "Oh, I don't have a whole 1 hour, 3 hours. It's
mhm,
not going to work." But you said you wrote this whole book in little pockets.
yep. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so inspiring. And I think that anybody who's dreaming of writing a book, it's just about showing up and doing it, right? Because we get all these ideas in our heads about what it means to be a writer. And I'm curious, in your opinion, like why do you think we worship authors so much? Like why we treat them like these gods of like how do they do it? And why do you think it starts that way?
Yeah. I think part of it is, or at least in my experience, when I would sort of think of the idea of writing a book and shy away because it feels so big and like other people can do that, but not me. I think part of it is just that like it's something that we've never done before, right? Those things that like we have never even started to do, like we can't even comprehend what the process actually looks like. I think
Mhm.
it's those moments where they start to feel bigger or like those are for other people, but I could never do that. I think part of it is just because we've never started. And so when I was in the process of writing the book, like it was difficult, but I was like, I'm doing this. And like what you said, like sometimes you just have to just sit down and do it until you realize that, like, okay, this is difficult, but like not as difficult as I thought that it was going to be. And especially specifically to writing a book, it's very much the first draft is very much like you just have to sit down and do it. Like no self editing, no whatever. You just have to get the words on the page.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of it is just it's this sort of ambiguous thing that we have never tried before. And that's why it feels too big and scary.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't realize that even professional authors who we worship, like their first drafts are usually crap. Like you just
Yeah.
have to get it out, and that's what
Hmm.
editors are for.
Right. Hmm.
Just put it out there, get it on paper, and then you go back, and that's not going to be your final book. And I wish someone would have told me that sooner too, because I think we held
Yeah.
ourselves back for a long time for that reason.
Me too. I remember my first draft, even knowing that like this is the rough first draft. I remember when I gave it to my writing coach because she also edited it, I was like, this is garbage. I'm a terrible writer. Like, why did I do this? But it's also too, when you're like reading your words over and over again, it starts to sort of all blend together.
Yeah.
So I remember after having some time from it, reading through it again, and I was like, oh, okay, like this is pretty good.
Yeah, you have to take a break. You have to take a step back, right?
Yeah.
And so coming back to your new book, C'est la vie guarantee, talk about what it's about.
Yeah, so the C'est la vie guarantee is sort of like a rom-com, and it follows 4 friends on an epic girls' trip to Paris. I don't want to give too much away, but while they're in Paris, they stumble upon an Irish pub next to the Moulin Rouge, and they meet and instantly hit it off with 3 Australian guys that are also on a trip to Paris. And that's the part that's loosely inspired by my trip with my friends. That actually did happen. It was a very strange occurrence, but I thought that was
I know
such.
the bar you're talking about. I live in
Really?
yeah, I
Oh,
live right
that's
next to
so
Moulin
fun.
Rouge. There's a bunch of Irish bars right next to it, and yeah, I know O'Sullivan's or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I don't. That might be the name. It's whatever one that like it gets to a certain point at the night, and like one of their back walls or something opens up to like a nightclub.
Yes, it gets pretty wild in there.
Yeah, I remember
Too.
we were just like, hanging out, and all of a sudden we hear like this club music and turn around to see like the walls opening up to a nightclub. We're like, where are we?
What?
Yeah, but it was so fun. So yeah, this group of 4 friends meet these 3 Australian guys. They hit it off, and they sort of embark on this epic adventure through Paris, and as new and fast friends, and 2 of them might fall in love.
So maybe 2 of the characters fall in love, and then the story continues from there, all based in Paris.
Yes, yep.
Very cool. And how long did it take you to write this book?
So I, over the past year, have sort of, or in the earlier months, was sort of just writing down scenes as they came to me. I wasn't trying to like put any pressure on it. I was just trying to let it like flow. And then once I really reached the point that I was like, okay, I got to get this book finished. I want to publish it. This was probably like 2 or 3 months ago, is when I really sort of sat down and cranked out most of it. So loosely been working on it over the past year, and just recently kind of like hit the road on it the past couple of months. And now we are working on the edits. So my current editor is working on like expanding some of the story elements, and it's really fun because she's one of my best friends and actually one of the girls I went to Paris with. So it's fun because she is sort of like pulling out some memories from the trip that I may have forgotten, and vice versa. So it's been fun to have her eyes on that.
Isn't it really wild how when you start writing, you remember so many things that you totally forgot?
Yeah. Yep.
It's really shocking because your brain like stuffs all this stuff away and you think it's gone, but it's still there.
Mm-hmm. Like the walls opening up to the club was something that I forgot until I was writing it. And I was like, man, I would love to go back to that pub.
Still there. They did not close. You can definitely revisit that, and then you can do a book signing there.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. Like I still remember the little photo booth in the corner that we took pictures at.
Everything is still there. Paris hasn't changed much even since the pandemic. So talk about some of the most difficult parts of being a writer. Like, do you believe in writer's block? What are some of the obstacles?
Yeah, definitely writer's block. Especially because I historically am someone I mentioned likes to have like hours blocked out where I can, just dive into something. During like those 15-minute writing sprints, sometimes there's nothing, like I have no visual in my head to go off of. And when you are in this time crunch, like, oh, I have 10 minutes before I have to get the baby up from his nap and I need to write some words, but also I have like no visual of the scene, those moments can be difficult. And oftentimes I feel like for me, those writing sessions are the ones where I'm like, this is crap.
Yeah.
But
Once again, this is crap. We always say
yeah.
that.
So writer's block definitely gets me. I would say for me personally, imposter syndrome is something that I consistently am working through, which I'm just convinced is something that you work through at every point in your life and it never goes away, and that's fine. But yeah, this idea that like other people can do this way better than me, like who am I to, so it's just navigating and combating that imposter syndrome that pops up every once in a while, and knowing that like um my stories don't have to be like, I don't write to be quote unquote better than, you know what I mean? Like our stories are so unique and they're ours, and there is an audience out there for your unique story. So that's what I try to remind myself when the imposter syndrome comes up. But yeah, I would say writer's block and imposter syndrome are the two biggest struggles for me personally in my writing journey.
Yeah, I think you're not alone. I think that a lot of writers feel that way. And even like actors, singers, whoever, you hear about it time and time again, they still get those nerves. But I think those nerves are what keep us going and keep us like really on our best work, because like you
Yeah.
need a little bit of anxiousness to like do your best, I feel like.
Yeah.
And how do you keep your work evolving? Like, what do you do to help your writing to get better?
Yeah. I think ever since I've sort of like rediscovered writing as a craft, and getting back into it outside of like the professional level, and especially now that like I have started writing books, even though that's fun, like a creative outlet, it still sort of constitutes as like writing at a professional level. What I really try to do, or am trying to do, is write more things that I'm not necessarily showing to the world, or maybe I'm posting on Instagram, things that don't necessarily have a specific purpose. Like I'm not writing this to put on social media. I'm just writing a poem because I'm inspired and I want to get it out of my system and onto paper, or journaling, like writing in those spaces that aren't monetized or producing anything specific, if that makes sense, because I feel like that helps um, keep my creativity alive. Like it's flowing through me consistently when I'm journaling and writing poetry and short stories or whatever it may be. So that's something that I'm trying to do. It's not currently happening in this season, but that's a practice that I like to have in terms of evolving my writing and making sure I'm staying consistent and just true to like that creativity in me, of letting it flow regularly, and having just a creative outlet that doesn't have any sort of production value on the
Yeah,
front
I think
end.
with social media, we have so much pressure all the time to produce, whether you're a writer, a painter, whatever. It's like it's the likes and the comments, and it kind of takes a piece of you with it. And that's a great idea, just to write for the sake of writing and maybe never even show it to anybody, just to kind of flex that muscle.
Yeah.
I think so many people need to do that. And do you think having a big ego can help or hurt writers? Do you think it's important to have a big ego, or do you think it could hurt your writing as well?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. I don't know. I think that there is this level of, so when I think of my journey so far as a writer, and prior to writing my first book, very much had this idea that this is something I can never do. So sort of on like the complete low end of the spectrum in terms of confidence in my writing. And throughout writing that first book and through the journey of the second one, the C'est La Vie Guarantee, I feel like I have so much more confidence in my writing and have this idea that like I can do this, which is not something I would have ever imagined saying last year, 2 years ago. So I think there is this level of like confidence that really can help propel you forward. And I mean, obviously helps in anything, but confidence that comes through like doing the thing, doing the writing the books, whatever that looks like for you. In terms of having a big ego, I don't know necessarily if I can, I don't know. That's such an interesting question. I think there are probably pros and cons to it, just like with anything. But I do think there's a level of that you can reach of knowing that like my story is valuable and I want people to read it and I think people would like it. I think that that space that you get to is a really good space as a writer, because I think it propels you forward to keep writing the books and doing the things, especially when the writer's block comes and the imposter syndrome and all of that.
Yeah, you have to have a little faith in yourself, a little ego, or you won't even show up.
Yeah.
And does writing energize or exhaust you?
Oh, both. It depends. Yeah, it depends. I definitely am when I am in a groove, writing and inspired, like I'm energized. Most of the time I'm energized. I will say it's exhausting when, specifically when like you're in the thick of a long manuscript and trying to complete a scene or reading your words over and over and over again and convinced that you're a terrible writer. Those are the moments where it gets a little bit exhausting. But I would say both. Just depends on the situation or season, I guess, of your writing project. When I going back to the writing just for the sake of writing, that's a craft or a practice that I know I need in my life, because I find I am most energized by those writing sessions. So that's how I know that that's something I need for my writing journey, my creative juices to flow, is to give myself those in between, like non-producing writing sessions.
Yeah, definitely, just to have some fun and practice. And do you have any advice for budding writers, like new writers or just starting out? What would you say to them?
Yeah, my biggest piece of advice, and it might sound simplistic, but it was truly the best piece of advice that I got when I was starting, is just to write. Whatever that looks like for you. So like when I first started getting back into writing, the book I wrote wasn't the very first thing. Journaling is a really easy way to get back into writing, just like stream of consciousness journaling, or poetry, fun short stories that like have lived in your brain for years that you want to get out. My advice would be to just start. And then also, I wouldn't be where I am today without like the resources that helped get me here, which is, the writing coach that I wrote my first book with. I also joined like an online writing community. So just like a group of people that are also working on books or just like expanding their writing practice or whatever it may be. So look for those things in your little community or wherever you can find it. Just any opportunity to come together with a community of people that are doing similar or the same things as you. That was really helpful to see all of these other writers, either express that they had writer's block that day, or, they need help finishing their chapter in a book. Just like seeing other people doing the same thing or similar things is really encouraging. So I would say look for spaces of that. And just start writing. Just start. That's like the biggest thing, because once you start and realize I can do this, then that really helps propel you forward.
Yeah, definitely. Like just be a doer, jump right in.
Mm-hmm.
How would you define creativity in your own words?
Creativity is, that's a really good question. Okay, the very first thing that's coming to mind, I'm just going to spit it out. Creativity is the unique expression of the things that live inside you.
I like that. That's a really good, just came to mind.
I was like, I don't know if this is gonna sound stupid, but I'm just gonna go
No,
with
it's really good. That's a new one because I ask almost all my guests this question, and
I
everybody
love that
always
question.
answers. Yeah, it's an interesting question because I think a lot of people think when it comes to creativity, it has to be a painter, a writer, or a dancer, but there's so many ways to be creative in our lives. It's just a piece of us, like giving a piece of us to the world, however you do that.
Yeah.
And why do you think creatives are attracted to Paris?
Paris is just truly the most magical place I've ever been. Like that is the word that came to mind when I was there in Paris, and the one that continues to come to mind when I think about um, my trip. And as I was writing this book, I was talking to a friend this morning about this podcast, and I think I said something like, "Give me those Parisian endorphins." Like it's just so inspiring, and there's like this high. I don't know, at least for me, it's just so unique and beautiful. Like everything is beautiful about Paris,
Yeah.
and the French language is beautiful. I think there's just so much beauty and inspiration that can be drawn from the city of Paris, and I imagine that's why a lot of creatives are attracted to it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think many people would agree. I mean, there's a reason so many people come here to visit, so many artists stayed here to make work. There's something going on, some kind of magical energy. Hard to describe, but I think you did a pretty
Mhm.
good job. And what would you say to people who don't believe they're creative at all, that they're not talented in a creative way? What advice would you give them to help them?
Ooh. Yeah, I would. So funny enough, my partner actually, he used to say this often, and now he's like full-fledged into this like crafting journey where he's unlocking this creative part of him. So I would say that that I don't know, maybe I would go back to what I said about what does creativity mean to me. It's really just the unique expression of whatever lives inside of you, and it's so true what you said. It doesn't have to live inside the walls of artist or painter or writer or whatever it may be. There are so many ways to be creative, and um I would say that, like, for your personal creativity journey, like, nobody has to decide what creativity looks like other than you. If we're talking about like your unique creativity journey, like, you get to define that. You get to decide what that looks like for you. And also, maybe if there's someone in the space of like, I'm not creative, or I don't have any sort of like creative inspirations, I would say just try different maybe traditional creative things that you've seen. Just try a couple, because you never know like what'll stick, what you'll love. So I would say another piece of that is just the exploration of some creative outlets, and see what sticks. So I mean, I know of people that have tried like a pottery class once, just like by accident, and have fallen in love with it. So you just never know what you're going to love, and what you're going to want to keep doing. So I would say let creativity be unique to you, and you get to define that, and also just explore what that looks like for your own personal life.
I think that's great advice, definitely. And just try some things. And I like what you said about not defining it, like not having to put words. It's just basically about trying new things and having some joy in that. It doesn't have to be for any particular purpose.
Yeah.
And what future projects are you excited about? Obviously, the release of the book. And is there anything else that you want to share with listeners?
Yeah. So I'm so excited for C'est La Vie Guarantee to get into the hands of people. And I really hope they fall in love with these characters as much as I have. In terms of future projects, um, I did leave the book open for maybe another uh, book on another character that is introduced in this book. So that would be really fun. We'll see if that comes to fruition, but that's like sort of sort of living in the back of my mind for another project to start. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Have to see where it goes, see where your brain takes you.
Yeah.
And where can listeners connect with you online and check out the book and learn more?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Emily Cruz Writes. I'm also on Substack, emilycruz.substack.com. And on Instagram specifically, I'll be posting some more updates about the book soon as we get closer to release date in August. So that's probably the best place to stay up to date on book stuff.
Cool. Well, I can't wait to pick up a copy of the book and check it out, relive some of my Paris memories, maybe.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for chatting with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a blast.
Thanks so much for tuning in to La Vie Creative. You can find more information on MissParisPhoto.com. And if you enjoyed this show, please feel free to share and spread the word for all my creative guests. We have the power to help them to keep doing what they love. See you next time.